you're at the home still. You've given them all this. If you're still not getting a warm fuzzy, yeah, I don't need all this. I bought a lot of homes. I'm not sure I want a realtor. Whatever the objections are that you're getting, you do have one more little tool to pull out of your toolbox inside here. And typically, the buyer agent will already have this in their hand pretty much about the same time they're given the red folder so that they can quickly write down their name and phone number because they want to follow up. But the tool that you have inside of the folder, just one more thing to bait them with that they will get in working with you is what we call the home specific disclosure. And this is a document that I created years ago. I created it, one, out of fear because I wanted to make sure that the company was protected. And I know that some home buyers, not all, would just love to say your agent didn't tell me. Your agent didn't tell me about polybutylene, and now I bought a home and I'm in a home with polybutylene. You should have told me. I want you to replace my polybutylene. You can see how that might happen. Right? So disclose, disclose, disclose. And even though the North Carolina seller disclosure has a lot of things on it, we know that sellers don't even know what's in their house. I can sit with a seller and say, do you have a natural gas furnace or electric? I don't know. I think it's electric. No, it's gas. No, I think it's... They don't know. And yet they're filling out those 30, 40 questions, guessing mostly. They just don't know. So, and it's very limited. It doesn't have everything that would actually affect a home buyer. So we started putting together everything that we could think of that could affect the quality of living in that home. And quality is not just peaceful enjoyment, but quality is also not having a money pit because you've got all kinds of things going wrong with that home. So this is a 4-page document that has everything we can think of, from asbestos to aluminum wiring to crime rate, LP underground tanks, radon, one by one, everything you can think of. It is not. No, you should have that little... You don't have this? So what we do with this, if we were still trying to convince them that they needed you, you might use this tool. And you may say, one of the things when you work with our team that you'll receive is this disclosure that gives you a lot of very important things to consider about your home purchase. As a buyer agent, I'm going to let you know if I know anything about class action lawsuits, polybutylene piping, hardboard siding, things that's going to cost you a lot more money. You also may want to check out the crime rate or the sexual offenders. Certainly if there's any roads coming into the area or anything that's going to affect your financial investment as your buyer agent, I'm going to be telling you all of that. And this is a form that we will go over each one of these things to find out what's important to you and what's not. And then if you're starting to look at homes that I know for a fact has one of these things that you told me earlier you didn't want in a home, I'm going to remind you. I'll still show it to you if you want to see it, but I'm at least going to remind you this is a property that you mentioned that you really didn't want aluminum wiring. You understood the safety concerns with that. So I would let you know based on the age of the home, you're probably going to face that. That's my job, is to protect you. And we're also going to give you this up front. It's got websites where you can go and do your own research if you want to gather more information before you make a decision whether or not it's a concern to you or not. So this is something that when you work with Linda Crafton team, this is the type of protection we are going to give our clients. We want you to love your home and love working with our team, so you'll tell everybody you know that they're going to take good care of you. Call them. And then I would take this after you teased them with it. Yes, sir, you got it. And I'd slip it right back into that little folder that you're going to keep right here, close by your side. Well, this is confidential to Linda Crafton team, and so, absolutely, if you hire us, you're going to get this and a whole lot more. But, we'd love to set that appointment up. I mean, this is just a small piece of the type of information that you're going to receive from our team. And it's just one more close for the appointment. and it's one more takeaway. It's one more thing for them to walk away from that appointment and think about. It's also one more thing as they think about all the other realtors, or maybe the next realtor they call to show them another house they find on Zillow. If they find one that's still for sale, of course, they're just going to do that comparison. And many times if you have good follow-up after that initial meeting, even if they gave you that reflex no, they'll come back around. I've also found that anytime you can bring them into the office and you can take them through this presentation, the rest of your job is so much easier because you have aligned them with everything possible that they need to think about, from negotiations to things that can go wrong to where the market is at, what they can expect from this team and the free services. I mean, it's a natural close once you get them into the office. The surveys with buyers say the thing that is most important to a buyer is having help finding the right home. The right home doesn't just mean something they love. The right home also means something that they're safe in, which is why that home-specific addendum can pull a lot of people in, because it addresses the fear they already have that they don't even realize what they're saying. And that home-specific addendum protects you, because when you go through that, it's a great tool. Let me show you how you're going to use it now in a buyer consultation.
And no, he does not email that, right?
What?
To the buyer.
The buyer.
That's our job, to send him the contract and everything, right?
Yes, Nogi doesn't get involved until you have a signed, executed contract.
Right, but once you have that, is he going to email that along with the offer?
So here's how you do the. I lost my home-specific addendum. Can I have my? Yeah, I'll show you where the extras are to make that whole. So you have brought them into the office. You've given them the PowerPoint presentation. They are sold on you, and they're ready to sign a contract. And so the next thing you would do is your buyer agency agreement. And then you want to get your home-specific addendum signed as well. Here's how you use it. Let's say you're in front of a first-time home buyer. You know, if there are 50 houses out there for sale, or 100 if they're looking all over the triangle, you don't want to show them all those properties. Your job is to eliminate properties down to a manageable amount. This addendum helps you to do that as well. Because when you're explaining to them that some homes have aluminum wiring and they can be a safety hazard, usually you just find those in older homes that are built in the 70s or older. Is this something that you would want to avoid, or do you care about the wiring? I don't want that stuff in my house. Okay, that's fine. When we do our search, we're going to restrict our search to maybe start in the 80s. Asbestos is going to be in really old homes, so I'm guessing if you don't want a 70s, you don't want a 1920 or 30 either. So we're going to eliminate the old homes. How's that sound? Flood zone, we're not going to be able to check that until we actually see the properties. But happy to talk with you about flood insurance and flood zones if you want to know more about that. So lead base is going to be eliminated because they already don't want older homes, right? So you don't need to worry about this because you're looking at older homes. But if you're buying an old home, look at how many more things we have to worry about. We're going to talk about meth labs and mold, which we won't find out until we get a little bit deeper into the transaction when we have that home inspection. We're going to make sure that the property is zoned for the type of use that you want, which is residential. You're not going to run a business out of your home, correct? Okay, so those are things we'd have to check if you were. So polybutylene, that is a water pipe that was used exclusively across the nation from about 1980 to 1996 or 97. There's been a lot of class actions lawsuits with polybutylene. So, and unfortunately all the money is gone on it. But if this is something that you absolutely want to avoid, and here's a website so you can research it if you want to, then we're going to look at homes built from about 1999 to be safe to new. Although some of the homes could have had them all replaced, but it'd be something we're really going to have to check. If they've already told you they want new construction, you're just going to go, or they just want a home a couple years old, you're going to go, great, you don't have to worry about any of this kind of stuff because it's not going to happen. You You see what I mean? And so instead of somebody wanting to look at 100 houses, it's helping them to eliminate things that they don't want. If they say they don't want to be by a dump or they don't want to be in air traffic, then when you're starting to do a search for them on MLS, you're going to say right away, well, you probably don't want this house because the landfill is about a quarter of a mile from this neighborhood. Do you want to eliminate things in this neighborhood? You may not want this home because it is in the flight path. Do you want to eliminate this home? Now, I would only do that if I had 100 houses and I was trying to get it down. If I knew that I only had 4 houses for them to choose from and the price they were in, it was probably going to have Polybutylene Lane, and it was probably going to have an airport, I would use this to disclose those things and to talk about the good and the bad, but I wouldn't do it to eliminate property, so you'll end up not being able to sell anything. So it's a tool that you kind of use it based on how you need it to be used. If you have a buyer that has 100 choices in a home, they can't decide if they want to live in Fuquay or Wake Forest or all over, and it happens, this is a tool that will help you to weed that down a lot. Because if not, they're going to look at so many houses, they're going to be so confused. Have this tool help them to go to a good house that's not going to cost a lot of money. If you had to replace all the polybutylene piping in a home, it's usually around $5,000, meaning about the lowest I've ever seen is 4 and maybe around 7. So it's not, it's not huge if they bought a home like that, but it could be. So, I mean, that's the other thing, is just to know what it's going to cost to get rid of the problem. Hardboard siding is on here. Nuclear plant is on here. LP tanks was on here before we had all the LP tank stuff. And when they've initialed at the bottom of every page and they've signed, and then you're going to walk upstairs and make them a copy of this, and you're going to put a copy of it in their red file now, and you're going to keep the signed copy in your file. They can't say, you didn't give it to me, I didn't have time to research. You're going to say, hey, go research this stuff if you want to.
Do you do that before or after the buyer having their son buyer representation agreement?
It depends on where they're at. If they're still hesitating about signing any kind of contract with you, I might go ahead and pull this out and do it then. Use it as another tool. Give them more information. Send them away. But typically, I would have the buyer agency contract signed, and then I would go into this, because that's pretty much what you said also at the showing. You're going to get this when you sign that. Either way, it doesn't matter. I mean, it just doesn't matter. Whatever's comfortable. But if you sign this first, then you go through this, and the next transition is to go to MLS and search. It's really fresh in their mind. So if there's any concern that they raise about any of this, as soon as you get into those neighborhoods, you can start to tell them, I know you said that you wanted to avoid hardboard siding. Let's just check this house out because it's built in a neighborhood where there's a lot of it. Let's just roll down and see what they've got. Sometimes on listings, you're going to see listed fiber cement and hardboard siding. That's a good sign that somebody's been replacing a lot of siding over the years, and they have both on their house.